spot, I changed my talk to say, well, I'm just going to give 126 seconds of value on Facebook ads because it looks like people could benefit from that. Well, long story short, I get up to the front, I give my value, and people start rushing me at the end of the room and say, hey, let's talk to you about Facebook, this, that, the other. Well, Giovanni was one of those people who approached me at the end and said, Nick, we should talk. So we met up for lunch, and he said, Nick, I'm doing something crazy. In about 3 months' time, so this was January, March. Yeah, in March, I'm going to hold an event.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Cash Flow Podcast, where we're going to talk about everything related to the money in your small business. I'm your host, Pam, and without further ado, we're going to jump right into our episode. Hey, Cash Flow Nation, welcome back. It is time for another Know Your Map. And we're going to give a nod here, like we always do, to the power of relationships in our success and actually in our failures, actually maybe even more so in our failures. And what we're talking about here is the really genuine, caring, and profitable, because of course I'm a CFO, relationships that really powerfully shape our entrepreneurial journey. So think about mentors, chance encounters that turned into gold mines, friends that were with you when the chips were down, that kind of thing, that really become the backbone of your business and the driver for 99% of its success in the long run. At least that's what I've learned as you've heard me talk about it. How does it relate to cash flow, right? Well, without your relationship map, without those people in your journey, you're going to for sure spend too much, earn too little, and quite frankly, as I did at the beginning, rely a little too much on your own genius. So if that's not a pathway to cash flow hell, I don't know what is. So stick around as I explore this topic here and these lifelines that we all set up with our guest today, who I'm going to dig in with right now. And you're going to love it. Nick, say hi, and then I'll give a quick introduction.
Hey, Pam, I just want to say I'm so glad to hang out with you for this time and then chit chat here. So I'm looking forward to where this conversation goes.
Me too. I can't wait. So most of you know Nick already. It's kind of, how could you not if you listen to me? But I met Nick a few years ago at Archangel through a mutual friend of ours, Gio. And we've stayed in touch, and I just watch what he does, and it's amazing. He's the founder of the H2H Media Group, really known as a leading digital advertising strategist. When people really need help with their advertising, this is the name that often comes up. And the thing that I love, because I'm the CFO, is he's got the highest ROI in the industry at 30,973 and 32%. Nick, I'm of course going to have to ask you who calculated that for you, because I love it. And he works with A-list clients, including the top thought leaders, New York Times bestselling authors, top Fortune 500 companies, and fast growth companies. In other words, the long and the short of it is he creates advertising campaigns that don't suck and get you leads without a funnel, which I think is an incredibly attractive statement to make. So how are things going, Nick?
Oh, life couldn't be better. I mean, and I don't say that anecdotally. Like I used to say, hey, how you doing? I'm doing awesome. But yeah, the last few years has truly been great. We have some great ups and downs, but way more ups and downs, and where we live now, what life is like, and what we've kind of developed here as a lifestyle has just been truly rewarding for us.
I just love that. It's great to watch you keep up with your family and your health and your cars. They're all fun. So it's neat that you share that all with us, because it's pretty cool. So I want to jump in on a few things about your relationship map, because I'm guessing to be as successful as you are, you have some pretty cool relationships. Well, I know it because I've seen them, but there are others that I'm sure people don't hear about. And I think all of us as entrepreneurs, at least I did, I shouldn't say all, kind of jump out of the gate thinking, oh, I can do this. I've been great. In my case, I've been great in corporate. I climbed the ladder. I know the stuff. I know what I do. I could hack this thing. And pretty quickly in, we realize, oh crap, I'm not doing this alone. I need friends, and I need to know where to go for things and who to trust. So if you could go back to the very start of your journey, kind of tell us where that started, your entrepreneurial journey. And maybe when you were a kid, I don't know, but who is the very first person that comes to mind on your relationship map that really kind of had an impact on your trajectory as the successful entrepreneur you are?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to look at that. And I love that question because I didn't know it at the time, but when my parents described what they did, even before I was born until after I was born, I didn't realize that they were entrepreneurs. right? So
Oh.
my father at the time, before I was even born, was a commission-driven salesperson with a very large company at the time. He was making bank. He was super happy. Life was grand. He was living on cloud nine. And then there's a merger that happened with the company. And as a result, they were just like, we're paying this guy way too much money. Let's fire him. And he went from, as he reiterates the story to me as I'm growing up, he went
Mhm.
from the top of the food chain to what felt like the bottom. And very
Ugh.
quickly, he had to like figure out what to do. So him and my mom um, were desperate for work, and they started helping a person who owned a convenience store part time because they're just like, we just got to serve and push the cash register buttons and sell stuff.
Mhm.
Well, not too long after that, the person who owned that store said, well, I can't do this anymore, and asked my parents, would you like to have the store? And they said, well, you know what? Sure. It's all we know and it's all we can do. Let's do that. And so that was kind of the birthing of their entrepreneurial experience. However, growing up as a kid, looking at that and realizing that there was more month than money and they were struggling and they're looking and like literally this was a 24-hour convenience store. So my dad worked the 7 p.m. to say 7 a.m. shift. My mom worked the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. shift. And I would be
Wow.
there as much as I needed to be because they couldn't afford childcare or anything like that. So if I wasn't in school, I was at the store. So when I was looking
Wow.
around as a kid, looking at this, I'm like, oh, this is entrepreneurship. I didn't know that that's what I was saying at the time, but like,
Right,
this is what
right.
it means to own your own business. I don't want anything to do with this. Not at
It's
all.
actually a negative impression. That's an interesting story.
Yeah. So at first, that was the impression. It was just like, if this is what this is, I want nothing to do with it. So, like, I got to tell you, Pam, I didn't come out of my mom with my hands in the air saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, it's not in my DNA. It's not something I wanted. It was actually a situation by force. And here's what I mean by that. So, I'm witnessing my parents go through this thing. Um, And probably by the time I was 16 or 17, I watched my father have his third stroke. And that was
Ugh.
enough to literally take him out and say, you know what? They can't keep the business going anymore. So my father had to step away, which meant my mom couldn't keep going with the business. So my mom, for the first time in her life, had to find a real job outside of working with my father, and she couldn't speak English well. She's an immigrant lady. And I
Okay.
remember particularly one Saturday, I was sitting at home watching TV. I was probably again 16 or so, 17. And my mother comes home and she's got tears in her eyes. And I said, Mom, what happened? She didn't tell me. I kept pestering her a little bit. And she said, Nick, I went for a job interview to fold clothes at a laundromat. That's what her
Mhm.
interview for a job was. And I didn't get the job because I couldn't speak English. And, I just something cracked inside of me that said, "I don't know how, and I don't know when, and I don't know where, but I'm never gonna let this happen to my family again." And being the only child, I figured at that very moment, I'm gonna be the primary breadwinner for my family. Again, I didn't know what that meant,
Yep.
but I just said, "I'm
You
gonna
knew.
do it." Yeah, I knew I had to do something, and so
Wow.
I say that because I was, like, thrust into this world of entrepreneurship. Because now I'm like, "Okay, well, I gotta figure this out." And as a young, impressionable, late teenager typing on the internet how to make money on the internet, you're a sucker for a whole bunch of things, to be honest with you.
Yes,
So
yes, we
I,
all
I
walk into that, right?
geez. So man, I joined multi-level marketing companies thinking that was the key. I joined this, I joined that, I joined everything. But my first real taste, if you will, at any sort of success was I saw an ad in the newspaper and it said make $16.85 an hour. And for perspective, at that time, minimum wage was like $5. So I
Mhm.
said, wow, this is 5 times the minimum wage. Like, let's go. So I showed up at this job interview. I dressed up in my little suit and I showed up at this job interview, and there was a room of probably like 30 people in there. So I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And some guy walks to the front and takes a knife and cuts a rope in half and essentially says, you're going to be selling these if you choose to work with us. And it was for Cutco knives. Um, and I
I
said, well,
love it.
you know what? You know what? I don't know anything about this knife thing, and I don't know much about sales. But if I can get paid $16.84 an hour, by all means, that's going to be better than what McDonald's can pay me or anything else. And so I started selling knives. Now, if you know Cutco, you know what I'm going to say. If you don't, it's a
I do
fancy
know
knife
Cutco.
brand.
We
Yeah, yeah.
had the guy knock on our door and we bought him. We still got
There
him.
you go. So you get it. But they had their main set was something called the homemaker set. And they sold that for like $600 or so. Then you could buy like knives for anywhere from $80 to $120. And then they had something they called the ultimate set. And the ultimate set was a $2,200. So there you go.
When I couldn't afford it.
Exactly. So I looked at all this and I was like, well, if I'm going to spend all the time anyways, and I'm going to get paid on commission, why don't I just try to sell the ultimate thing? Why would I bother with all the other stuff? And so very
Huh.
quickly did I recognize that I had the DNA of my father, which was a quote unquote salesman. And I ended up getting the nickname Mr. Ultimate because that's all I chose to sell. I refused to sell anything else. I only sold these $2,200 knife sets, which was honestly outrageous at the time.
Mhm.
But I went ahead and I sold them and I got my first taste of success, and one thing led to another. Then they offered me a position to be a branch manager after a year or so. And I'm like, okay. But the long story short, it's like I had a mentor there who kind of guided me through those ropes, showed me a little taste of success. I had my parents in the situation of my life that said,
Yep.
you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but then because of the situations, you got to figure out that the regular paycheck at a normal job may
It ain't
not
gonna
cut it
work.
as a 16-year-old anyways.
Yep.
So I was kind of thrust into that world and I got my first taste of like, oh, I could be paid more than just hourly. I could have something that leverages my skill set. And all of these things started to come together, and some people came into my life. And I mean, I could keep going on about other things that had led to, but in every situation of the path, there was either a situation that said, okay, no, I don't want to do this, or a mentor that started kind of showing me through the ropes of what it was like to be in that situation.
I
And,
love it.
yeah, one thing led to another, and the rest, as they say, is history. So,
I
I mean,
love
I
it.
can,
Couple things in that. One is I love that it was either a hell no or there was a mentor that you trusted showing you the way, and that's the relationship map, and probably
right.
mentor after mentor. You said something interesting. You said, "I guess I was a good sales guy because I realized that I should just sell the ultimate thing because I make more money." But what you really were was a P&L expert at the ripe old age of 16 because
Sure.
you recognized your bottom
Right.
line was going to be better as a result of focusing on a higher value line, right?
Sure, sure. And I didn't even to this day, I didn't think about it until you put it that way,
You'd
but
never
yeah,
say
no,
it
that
that
makes sense.
way, but
Sure.
that's what makes you the good businessman that you are. It's like just sales isn't it. Anybody could have made sales. You just go to
Sure.
2,200 houses instead of one. But I love that message. I think that's really important that everybody think about where is my time best spent? And you use the word leverage. And that's the
Mm,
key for us as entrepreneurs. It's all about getting away from the money for hour stuff.
yes,
And
right.
you got that experience at 16. That's amazing.
Yeah, I
So
don't necessarily wish that on anybody, but it just so happened, and I'll take life as it gave it to me.
there you go. That is the way to look at it. I'm guessing, I could be wrong. This is a guess, and I probably
Mm.
shouldn't put words in your mouth. But once you decided, once your head cracked, as you put it, did you know you were going to do it? You were going to be taking care of your family and that it was going to be better and worry free at some point? Or did you really not? Like, was determination, what did that feel like?
Yeah, so I didn't know it was gonna be better or good at some point, but I knew I had no choice. And so
Got
it
it.
was like, the Spanish conquest where the boats and he turns around and he says, "Burn the ships behind me." Like,
Yep.
that's what it was. It's like,
Your
there's
ships were
not
burnt for you.
they were burned. I have
Mhm.
2 ailing parents who needed my help. I'm the only child, unfortunately or fortunately. I had to figure it out, and so that's why I tell people, like, it wasn't a choice for me. I was kinda thrust into it. Now looking in hindsight, you're like, "Thank God, if that didn't happen, who
That,
knows what could have happened here." But at
yeah,
that
that
moment,
happens a lot, right?
yeah, well, that's exactly it. But, literally for me, it's like I just felt like I had no choice. I had to figure this out. And
I
wherever
love
the
it.
future was going to take, I didn't know, but I knew if I just stood still and did nothing, it wasn't going to benefit anybody. So I just put my head down and said, I'm going to figure this out.
Do
I
you
kind of probably,
still do that every day? Is that the thing today?
yeah,
I know I got to figure it out. I put
that
my head
that's a
down and do it.
that's a great question because I get asked all the time, like this idea of like, should I follow my passions and whatever? Look, Pam, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I have an advertising agency and a consultancy, and now I've recently started a new business that is very heart driven. But
Oh, cool.
this stuff is great and I love it, but I don't wake up every morning or have like dreams at night about, oh, Facebook advertising. Like, oh, I just love the way that you can like that, so
Yep.
people, there's the old saying of like, do what you love. I see it another way. I say do what needs to be done and then love what you do. And I think that
That's
was my
great.
that was my realization is I just said, and to your point, and so people ask again all the time, it's like, are you passionate? Do you love? Or like, no, I wake up, I have habits that are formed in my life.
Mhm.
And notice I say habits, not motivation. I'm the
Yep.
least motivated person you'll ever meet.
God,
If
I
you,
have that problem. Yep.
well, I mean, if it's required, if motivation is required for me to do anything, I would never go to the gym. I would never go in my cold plunge every day. I would never go in the sauna. I would never do hard things
Mhm.
because I just didn't have the will. But I'll tell you something: I have really good habits and I have really good stick to itiveness. So for me, it's
Wow.
determination to say, I'm just going to establish habits in my life, knowing that those habits over time will get me to the destination that I'm looking to. And
Yep.
so the question never comes up, do I feel like doing? Of course, I don't feel like doing most of the things or some of the things I do. Now, I try to balance that in my life
Right.
with surrounding myself and doing things I absolutely adore, but that's not business. That's just
Mhm.
things I love to do to feed my soul a little bit. So
That
yes,
is
I love the question. I do wake up and I say yes. I don't have a choice because I don't. If I get lazy, if I fall short on my habits, if I make some bad decisions with my relationships, the family that I have living in the house right over there, is depending on me
right.
to be the person I am claiming that I am going to be. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, to the same extent, every day I just decide I'm going to do it, and you just kind of get at it.
The beautiful thing in that sentence is if I counted on motivation, I would do nothing. And that I think a lot of people, go into this entrepreneurial world really a little bit half-assed because they think, oh, I'm going to
Mm,
love every day. You're not going to love every day. Some days are going to suck,
yeah,
but you've
right.
got to really want to do it and cherish whatever it is that it's creating for you. Somebody used an example when I was at an event this past week and said, we leave the prison of corporate to join the prison of our own that we create by creating this thing that we don't keep in mind what you said. It's got to have the balance to it. So that is beautiful. So in that journey, like
Yeah.
after Cut Go, and I know that you said you had a lot of mentors in your life. So where was one that you just never saw coming? Like where somebody just came out of the blue and
I
all of a
love
sudden
this.
your trajectory changed
Yep.
and it changed everything for you.
Yeah. So you're going to appreciate this because you know who I'm going to talk about, but it's just one of those situations where, so part of my life, and this is a side story, but for
Mhm.
14 years of my life, on top of everything I was doing, I was also a pastor of a church. So I was a ordained minister, and I started pastoring when I was 17, and I pastored for 14 years straight after that. But
Wow, I
when it
did not
came,
know that.
yeah,
That's
and
cool.
so yeah, it was a good training ground. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
I
I
have a
wouldn't go
sister
back
who's a
to it.
minister, so I know what it
Okay.
takes.
Okay. Yeah. And yeah, talk about an underappreciated kind of situation.
Yep,
And you work all day and you get paid nothing for it. Like that was kind of one of those situations.
with
Um,
volunteers.
yeah, but exactly, because you're doing it for the Lord. Yeah, no,
Go
no
on, I
thanks.
get you.
Yeah, someone else can do it for the Lord. Um, But I came up on this time where I knew it was time to leave. And so this is 14 years later, and I knew, you know what? It's December. I said my last Sunday at the church is going to be the Christmas Sunday. And then I was like, you know what? I just need a break. I'm going to take at least a year and just go do my thing. And all the whole while I had this side hustle of internet marketing because I made a commitment to say that my salary wouldn't be paid by the church. I would
Got
make
it.
my own money. So I had this kind of side hustle going on. And someone told me, I lived in Toronto at the time. Someone told me and said, "Hey, you need to go into this Facebook group. It's for Toronto entrepreneurs." I'm like, "Cool. I'd love to connect with people like that." And I think the first day I got in there, I saw this ad, not really an ad, but a post that said, "Hey, I've spent the last 20 years of my life studying marketing from some of the greats, the Dean Jacksons, the Dan Sullivans of the world, this, that, and the other. And I'm hosting a 1-day event. And here's the deal. The event is going to cost, I think it was like 497 bucks, like 500 bucks. But here's the deal. You show up and only after the event, if you thought it was worth it, do you have to pay the 500 bucks. And I was like, hot diggity. I'm just going to go to this event. And no matter how good it is, I'm going to say it was terrible. So I don't have to pay. And that wasn't being mean or facetious or
Yep,
or it was just like, cause I didn't have the money. Like
yep.
I didn't. And so
Survival.
Yeah, it was survival instinct. And if someone's giving me an opportunity, I'm going to take that opportunity. So after saying I'm not going to step foot in the church for a whole bloody year and all this, I look at the details of the event, and the event happened to be on the first Sunday in January. I'm like, darn, a Sunday. Well, at least I'm free now, no problem. And then it was at an event space called the Berkeley Church. Now, the Berkeley Church is an old, like Anglican or Catholic like church that was converted into an event center, but it still had like the stained glass windows and the A-frame roof. Like you felt like you were in church. So I'm thinking, Jesus, what on earth is going
What
on?
am I not listening to?
Yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing. Then I show up, and of course, the event is called Archangel. And I'm like, this is too
Oh
much. So
my God,
anyways,
this is a great story.
yeah, and I'm not even making it up. Like I'm sitting there in the room, and the guy at the front, his name was Giovanni Marsico, and he's going about all this stuff. And one thing he used to do at his events is what he called 126 talks. And this is where you have 126 seconds. And rather than introducing yourself, hey, I'm Nick and I do this, you basically say, hey, I'm Nick, and you offer 126 seconds of value of insight to the group. And that's kind of your way of introducing yourself. So I get in line like everybody else, and everyone's talking and doing their thing. And I didn't even know what I was going to say. I think I was going to come up with some productivity hack or something. And then before that happened, Giovanni gets to the front of the room and he says, how many people in this room use Facebook ads to try to grow your business? And I think 80% of the hands went up, including my own. And then the second question he asked was, how many of you find it profitable?
Hmm.
And my hand was the only one that stayed up. And it was like,
Ah,
the angels had spoke from the heavens, and the
yep,
sunbeam light came through the stained glass and lit on my face. Now I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that's what it
yep,
felt
nope.
like
It's
a halo
like,
around my head.
yes, there's
Yeah.
a word I'm thinking of, not literally, but the other thing. Yep.
Sure. Figuratively or whatever.
Thank you. That's the word.
But this is happening. And I said, huh. So on the spot, I changed my talk to say, well, I'm just going to give 126 seconds of value on Facebook ads because it looks like people could benefit from that. Well, long story short, I get up to the front, I give my value, and people start rushing me at the end of the room and say, hey, let's talk to you about Facebook, this, that, the other. Well, Giovanni was one of those people who approached me at the end and said, Nick, we should talk. So we met up for lunch, and he said, Nick, I'm doing something crazy. In about 3 months' time, so this was January, March. Yeah, in March, I'm going to hold an event in Los Angeles, the city of angels. And it's going to be an Archangel event, but I only want to bring 7-figure business earners who are heart-centered to that event. Now, I have no contacts in LA. I have no idea how to do this, but do you think you could use Facebook ads to do this? And I said, I think so. Let's give it a go. And so we ran ads.
Wow.
Long story short, we filled the room. There was probably like 60 or 80 people there, all 7-figure earners. It was the beginning of Giovanni's now Archangel everything.
Empire. Yeah.
Empire. And the interesting thing, and here's where the relationship part comes in. As we get there, we're sitting there, and a couple of friends who work with Joe Polish were there in the room. And as we were talking, Gio and I walk in, and he goes, hey guys, I just want you to meet Nick. Nick's my Facebook ninja. He's the reason why you're here. Here's his event. And so some guy who was sitting there stops and texts Dan Kushel, who at that time was the right hand of Joe Polish. And I think like 30 minutes later, I get a call from Joe and Dan saying, hey, we hear you do Facebook ads. Do you think we can meet? Long story short, we had a meeting. We talked. He ended up being a client. And then
Yep.
as a result of that, Joe knows everybody. So he started
Yep.
introducing me to a lot of people. And one thing led to another. And I mean, that's a short or a long-winded way of saying like one relationship of one thing from one event with Giovanni started opening up all these doors, and Joe and this and that. And that was really the beginning of my career. And
Yep.
had it not happened that way, I don't know where I would be today. Like you can only
Oh
speculate.
my God, there's so much in this. There's so
Of
much. So
what-
first of all, this is why we call it Know Your Map, because that's your relationship map through one guy to your future. And for me, it was Angela Loria who did that to me.
Oh
'Cause
yes, I know
she did
Angela. Yeah,
Geo,
she's great.
and then
Yes.
from Geo, all hell broke
Everything
loose.
else.
So
Yes, sure.
I love that. But the thing that really sticks out to me is, and does Geo know all the coincidence of that was the Sunday after you stopped being a minister? So you were probably thinking, oh shit, this is the Lord telling me you screwed up. when it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, right.
Does he know the story?
He knows now after I've told it a few times in various contexts. He didn't at the
Uh-huh.
time, and he didn't for years, but now he knows it all, yeah.
Pay attention to the signs. And that's a perfect one because you had to think, oh, this is a bad sign. Right up until,
I
oh,
was just completely dumbfounded. I was like, "Why am I here? It's a Sunday. I don't wanna do this, but who knows?" And I think I was the first person to even show up, and it was
yep,
cold, and it was winter in Toronto. I'm like, "Ah."
yep,
And then I didn't know anybody. Like, it seemed like everyone else knew everybody, so I'm all shy sitting in the
yep.
corner, and yeah, one thing led to another, you know, Gio and I become great friends, of course, and all that's unfolded from there. But yeah, I think one of the lessons I realized, and this is post Geo now, like as a
Mhm.
result of that,
Yep.
is you never know when those experiences are going to happen, right? Because like even for me, if I just thought about it, I was like, I didn't really want to go, and it said Sunday, and it was at a church, and it was cold outside, and like, what am I really going to want to do this? And then it happened, and then like the LA event happened, and then like I could have made the choice of just saying, you know what, I don't want to spend the money to go to LA, and I wasn't doing that well at the time and as well. I was
Mhm.
figuring stuff out, and you go there and you meet someone and they introduce you like, so I think the two lessons I found was you just have to put yourself in scenarios where magic might happen. It might
Mhm.
not always happen, but the only way it will is if you put yourself in scenarios where it might.
I
And then
love that.
secondly, a lesson that I had to learn, because before I was this very like vision oriented person. You got the vision board, I got this, I got my goals, and I got get out of my way or I'll bulldoze you. And it was like this hustle culture mentality. And what I recognized was I treated people as a means to an end, not the end.
Yep.
Because it's basically like, Pam, what could you do for me? Oh, nothing. Then get the hell out of my way so I can go.
Yeah.
And then
And you were
through the
not that guy
lessons
when I
learned,
met you. Yeah. So you
no,
clearly
definitely
had a
not. Yeah,
transition. Yeah.
but that's what I was forever because I just thought that's what people were teaching, right? Have your
Mhm.
vision. Don't let anyone get in your way. Just go, go, go. And
Drive,
I
drive,
thought,
drive.
okay. Yeah, I thought
Yep.
that's okay, maybe. But then you start recognizing that people are not a means to an end. People are the end. At the end of
Yes.
the day, this is I think Jason Gaynor says it best, and I'm gonna misquote it, but you know, he says you could take my money, you can take my assets, you can take my business, but you can't take my relationships.
Yeah.
And if we all had to start again from somewhere, if we didn't have the relationships, where on earth would we be?
Yep.
Right.
I love it. And
So
that is so key in this because it's that it's why I do this segment because you can't
sure.
go at it on your own. And clearly you're an example of that. And you also circled back to that 16-year-old kid because what you said was you don't feel like doing the thing every day. You didn't
Right.
feel like going to the event, but
Right.
you went and it's the habit of doing things when it's hard that you just go. And I love how that happens. All right. I'm going to ask you one more. Um,
Okay.
for this one, what I'm curious about, we all have had, and you've actually sort of described a couple of them, but since you had some real success,
Hmm.
there has to have been a point when you were like, something didn't go right. And you get a little down on yourself and on things, or you're in a tight spot, whether it's with your family or with your health or with your money or with your clients. In that situation, did somebody on your relationship map help you through that? And if
Yeah.
so, kind of who was it and what did they do?
So can I tell you about one of the hardest things I've ever been through in my life? Is that okay?
Please.
I don't really talk about this one much, but
Right.
let's go there. Whatever.
Awesome. Thank
Um,
you.
so I was a pastor of a church, as I told you, and I was dating my girlfriend at the time since we were in high school. Then we got into college, and then it made next sense after we graduate to get married, and we got married. And it was a very rocky relationship right
Mhm.
from get go. It didn't feel right, and I think we got into it because of convenience because we'd been together for so long. It just kind of made sense. So let's just keep going. And this went on for a long, long time. And I was basically in a relationship where my wife didn't love me.
Ah,
And when that doesn't happen, like I don't think it's the only thing you need in a relationship, but it's a darn important one.
yeah.
And we were going through some rough times. And I remember even going to marriage counselor and being like, look, we need help. And he goes, I'll be honest with you, Nick. I can help couples when they both want help. But in this case, your wife seems like she doesn't even want the help. So this is going to be really difficult to solve. I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, geez, whatever. I don't know."
Mhm.
Um, Not long after, like, I'd lost my father. So my father
Ugh,
died when I was 19, 20, 20.
wow.
Yeah, I lost my father. He spent so much time in hospital. So I was kind of already in a down mode and
Yep.
things weren't going well. And then I find out I'm sitting in my office, and again, this is typical, like, young entrepreneurial days where I'm sitting in my office, probably 1 in the morning, because we all work until 1 in the morning back then,
True.
right? I'm sitting at my little IKEA desk. It's the corner one, birch, the color, black
Yes.
legs.
Oh my
Everyone knows the
god, yes.
desk. That's the
We've
one I'm
all built
sitting
them.
on. We all know them, yes. And I'm sitting there in the desk, and my wife comes in, but then, like, stops at the door frame. Like, it's like this energy, like she couldn't walk all the way in, so she kinda sits at the door frame, sits on her bum, and hugs her knees and says, "Nick, we gotta talk." And I was like, well, no good has ever really started when one of the partners comes in and says, "Hey, we got to talk." But Pam, I'm a dumbass man, right? So I say, "Okay, what about?" And she goes, because I'm thinking in my head, like, what did I do? Did I not take out the garbage? Did I not say I love you? Like, what did I do now? Like, just let me have it. Um, and she goes, "Nick, I want you to know that I've been having an affair." And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh, okay." And she goes, "Actually, to be honest with you, I've been having multiple affairs, and the whole time we were together, even while we were dating." Like, "Oh, okay." And then, of course, my dumbass man
Wow.
brain, rather than just kind of like letting it go, I ask probably the worst question I could ask, right? And so I'm like, "With who?" And she then goes on to tell me of all these various people she's been involved with, including people in my church while I'm a pastor.
Oh,
Um, and so it led to a pretty bad downward spiral for me because I just lost my father.
yeah.
Things are going rough.
It's all the
You
things,
know,
the job, the home, and the marriage.
the trying to figure all that out. Keep in mind too, at that time I am a pastor, and remember, the faith tells you you can't divorce, and so I'm like
Yep.
navigating this, and then what is the church going to think? And I'm the leader, and I'm going
Ugh,
like it just exploded into the most hellish experience I can ever imagine. And
wow.
it's we so anyways, we started the process of divorce, and that didn't go well with the church. And now the church had turned their back on me, or some of them did, and trying to navigate through this whole process. And I just didn't know what to do. And a good friend of mine at the time, I'm not in touch with him anymore, and I don't know what's up with him, but a guy by the name of Peter Carl Youngren, who is a pastor of another church in the city, said, "Nick, let's meet." And I said, "Absolutely." And when we met for lunch, he said a couple of things that I'll never forget. First, he looked me in the eyes and he says, "Nick, I don't know and I don't care about the details. I just want you to know that I'm here for you as a shoulder to cry on or to lean on, no matter what you need." And the
Wow.
second thing he says, "I want you to know something, Nick, in the church." He goes, "Those who ask you for details, no matter what the intention, are the enemy. The people who actually love you and care about you are not going to care, and they're just going to be there for you. So be careful."
That's
And it was
wisdom.
in that moment that I recognize who are my friends and who are my enemies. And in that moment, there was a handful of people, including Peter Carl Youngren and some of my
Mhm.
close people at the time, who just banded together around me. And for a
I
moment
love
there,
that.
I was homeless, not living on the street homeless, but because of how the marriage ended, her parents got very involved and it went to the courts and they
Yeah.
basically took everything. And so I didn't have a home. I didn't own any assets. I didn't own anything, but people took me in. And people,
Wow.
again, the general
The
sentiment
real
was,
ones.
"Nick," the real ones. And the general sentiment was simple. It was, "Nick, we don't know, we don't care about the details, but I want you to know that no matter what, I love you and I'm here for you." And it
I
was that season where I had my eyes open to the reality of what it means to be a friend, what it means to be family, what it means to stand by someone regardless of what's happening, what it means to not think about details. And honestly, Pam, if it wasn't for those handful of people, Peter Carl, I don't know if I could have got through that
Mhm.
time. Like there were times, and you may have remembered this part of my story where I didn't think it was worth living in. Like
I remember
I
you
did.
having talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't, and I contemplated, but I'm a coward, so I was contemplating the easiest way to take your own life. Um, and honestly, if it weren't for these folks who were just in my life who said, "I'm
Might
here,
not
no
have made
strings
it.
attached." Yeah, no strings attached, no reciprocity, just know I'm here. Yeah, I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't have made it. So
That
I
that is
to
beautiful
this
for
day.
so many reasons, and I think the thing that you mentioned, like, everybody has a time like that in their life, except a few, right? And it's at those times that it's probably at the same time you realized you're not gonna do transactional relationships anymore, I'm guessing,
Right.
right?
100%.
And the other thing I think that really drives me here is that you realized I worked for a corporation, and I love
Mm,
this one particular one that I worked for, and the guy's name was Kurt Landgraf, and we had 3 core
mm,
values, and that was it. They were like one sentence, and you knew them just because they were repeated everywhere, and it was, performance, no excuses. Business is a social institution, which is basically the pay it forward, give back. And the last one was and actually it was the second one, everyone deserves special treatment. And what he
mm,
basically said is we are all going to have shit days. And our job when we have shit days is not to go, Nick isn't holding his weight. It's to
mm,
go, hey, Nick, what do we do? We got you. Because the
right,
next day when I have my shitty day, Nick's going to be there in my corner.
right.
And not because of the transaction of that, but just because that's how we should behave as humans. So you just brought me back to that day of everybody deserves special treatment. And thank you
Mm,
for sharing that. That really is going really deep. And I think something that I know I'm going to go back and re-listen to this. And my guess
mm,
is that this is going to mean a lot to a lot of folks at different places along their entrepreneurial journey because you're still in yours, certainly. But, people often look at Facebook, as you know, and I'm sure you get the, oh, Nick, he's, got it all in the bag. He's nailed it. Life's been easy, but it hasn't. And people have
no,
made the difference for you. And
100.
I just so appreciate you sharing all this with us. And again, thank you. This is going to mean a lot to a lot of people. And I appreciate you so much.
Oh, Pam, I appreciate this work that you do. I appreciate who you are. I appreciate you creating space safe enough to share this kind of thing. So thank you for the work that you're doing and the people you're bringing value to.
Awesome. And folks, we are dropping all the information you need about Nick down in the show notes on YouTube as well. So you'll be able to reach out to Nick and get anything you need. If you want advertising that doesn't suck without a funnel, his agency's the one. I can promise you that. All right. You all have a great week. We will see you next week. And thank you again, Nick Kusmich. I hope that video was helpful, and I hope you subscribe to my channel for more information on finances in your business.